Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestle News 365. Hope everyone is doing well. I hope everyone enjoyed SmackDown tonight. It is currently 11:30. Was it 11:30 Eastern Time in the United States? It's 4:30. It's 4:30 in the morning over here in the UK, but it's okay because I stay up late to do the work for Sports Keeda. So I've just finished my shift for Sports Keeda, and we're gonna go live here for a few minutes to talk about the Thunderdome experience that I had for SmackDown here tonight. Now, fortunately, I was one of the few people to actually sign up for Thunderdome. I was one of the early people to sign up to it, and I managed to get on the stream early-ish. As you can see, I've got a few pictures here of some screen grabs during my Thunderdome experience. This is what it's called, my Thunderdome experience. As you can see there, you can see the Fiend coming out. What I will say is, I thought that from a production standpoint on SmackDown, I thought it looked great, and that was never going to be an issue here, really, was it? It was always going to look great. It looks night and day better than the shows at the Performance Center because it's bigger and you've got pyro and you've got LED screens and you've got all of this sort of stuff. So I thought the overall look of it was great, and you can't fault WWE for that. It felt like a WWE arena show. It felt like something we're more accustomed to for Raw and SmackDown, and no doubt it'll make SummerSlam look bigger and feel better. But as I mentioned when we did the previews for Thunderdome yesterday, there still are teething issues for Thunderdome, without a shadow of a doubt. There still are teething issues, and as one of the people that was actually on the stream earlier on, I can absolutely attest to teething issues. So my experience from it, so basically what happened is when you register for Thunderdome at WWEThunderdome.com, so that's what I did a few days ago, registered for Thunderdome.com, registered for SmackDown, and essentially earlier on in the day, the call time that you had to be on the call for was 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And I want to say I got an email really a lot earlier than a lot of other people, but I got an email about 3 or 4 in the afternoon saying, this is your link for Thunderdome. Click on it at 7 p.m. call time and we'll get you on the call. So I did that. This is a bit of advice to people that have managed to successfully sign up for SummerSlam or will sign up for Thunderdome in the future. I would recommend get on the call at least 10-15 minutes early, because it is first come, first served. So if you want to ensure that you're part of the Thunderdome experience, get on there early. Get on there early. That's the most important thing. So that's what I did. About 6:45 p.m., 6:50, clicked the link, and then I got the please wait screen, etc. But it was said that I was in Thunderdome. It wasn't standby or anything like that. A lot of people had that, the whole standby thing. I was told pretty much straight away, you're in. They have to, you obviously give access to your microphone and your camera and all of that sort of stuff, because they want to hear you making noise and they want to see your reactions as being on the Thunderdome screens in the arena. But once we started actually seeing some content, so as you can see there, I got the stay tuned thing and it basically said you're in. The first things that we saw actually were 205 Live. So you can see there Tony Nese and Jake Atlas having a match there. It was actually Drake Maverick versus someone else first. But you saw the 205 Live tapings prior to SmackDown. Usually, of course, it goes live after SmackDown, but that's not the case now. They tape 205 Live prior to SmackDown, and then they air it after SmackDown on the network. So if you sign up to Thunderdome, you actually do get to watch 205 Live first. So 205 Live came on, but the moment that 205 Live came on was numerous technical issues on our end, and I don't know if this was the case on some other people's ends, but it was definitely the case for me. So the stream itself was incredibly laggy, and when I say incredibly, I am not exaggerating. At that point, when I was watching the 205 Live tapings, I made the decision then that once SmackDown came on, I would have to watch it on the television anyway, because there is just no way to watch a show when it was that laggy. It was, I mean, those screenshots don't actually do justice as to how laggy it was. It was honestly every frame, every second it was lagging. So that was a serious problem there. Also a problem for me and I don't know if this was a problem for other people, but it certainly was a problem for me, was that I had no audio. I had nothing. It was completely blank. And that wasn't an issue with the device I was watching. I was watching it on an iPad with AirPods in. I had the AirPods out. I had them in. Either way, you couldn't hear any sound. And obviously, when I'm doing these screenshots here, these screen grabs, the device actually does make a noise to show that you are doing the screen grab. And even then, it was making the noise, so I could hear that. I just couldn't hear the feed. So maybe that's a permissions issue or something like that. So again, very quickly I realized I'm going to have to watch SmackDown on the television as opposed to in the Thunderdome. I kind of felt a bit, I don't know, I don't want to say like fraudulent, but it kind of was a little bit like, I don't know if this is the right thing. I'm meant to be, if I'm in the Thunderdome, I'm meant to be watching WWE and experiencing it like it is a live crowd, and that's not what I'm doing here. It kind of felt a bit like, well, I'm two screening it here. I've got the Thunderdome experience, but then I'm watching it on TV like I would do anyway. So that was a bit frustrating. But then we had SmackDown start, and I was willing to give it a shot because obviously, you've signed up for this. A lot of people weren't able to sign up to it, so I thought, well, let's give it a shot. I've waited this out, and let's see if it improves as we get into SmackDown. And it was still the issues there during SmackDown, the segments that I was in. So no audio, very very laggy, and just to be honest, unwatchable on my end of things. And I think this was the problem for a lot of people. So I saw, as you can see on the screen grabs, I saw the opening segment. Oh, I was present. I didn't really see it because it was no noise and it was very laggy. I was present for the opening segment of SmackDown with Vince McMahon welcoming everyone to the Thunderdome. I was present for The Fiend's entrance. I was present for Braun Strowman's entrance. I was present for Retribution surrounding the ring and attacking or attempting to attack The Fiend and Strowman, but they actually only attacked Braun Strowman in the end. I saw all of that, and I saw the very start of the Big E versus Sheamus match, but then ultimately, as you can see in a second, I got kicked from the stream, and it was said, please stand by. And to be honest, if I'd have waited it out, I'd have made it back into the crowd. But at that point, I'm not watching the show through the Thunderdome because I haven't got any audio. It's very, very laggy. Once I got kicked, I was just a bit like, there's no point. There is no point. I'll just continue watching it on the television. And some people, because I know there was quite a few people on standby, waiting in the waiting rooms to get into the show. So I thought it's not fair for me to take up a spot. So I'll just watch it on the television. It's no great shakes to me anyway. So that was the situation for me. Like I said, I saw some people say, oh, that's just what they're doing. They're kicking people after 10, 15 minutes. That's not the case because I watched a whole episode of 205 Live, which is about 30 minutes anyway. So total, I was probably on the call maybe about 45 minutes. But as you can see, I don't know if these screen grabs do it justice. But actually, you might be able to see that during some of the matches and some of the segments throughout the night that we saw, the screens in the Thunderdome actually were black, and some people weren't directly looking up at the camera. They're looking at their phones, they're looking at something else, they're tweeting, they're talking. And a lot of people said that it looked like they were disinterested, and maybe that's why they kicked me, because I was doing the same thing. I wasn't watching the show per se because I was watching it on television or I was tweeting about it. I was doing live tweets. I was actually working for Sportskeeda as well at the time. And I think there was rumours that they were basically removing people from the stream that weren't as engaged in the show or weren't as loud and vocal in the show. And maybe I wasn't one of them because I'm not going to sit at home on my own in the room and start clapping and cheering. I'm not that insane yet. I mean, I know I'm broadcasting at 4:30 in the morning over here, but I'm going to be standing up and clapping. So maybe that's why I got kicked. But that experience of it wasn't amazing. But I do find it funny that if you're not engaged, they'll kick you from the stream because have you heard a WWE crowd over the last 3 or 4 years, right? How many times have we been watching Raw or SmackDown and then we'll take to Twitter and go, man, this crowd sucks. They are so quiet. They don't do nothing. So the idea that WWE wants people to be sitting in the comfort of their own home, clapping and cheering and maybe doing the Mexican wave or shouting, this is awesome, is absolutely ludicrous. So I find the idea that they can kick you from the Thunderdome for not being engaged or not being loud is just outrageous. So But Thunderdome, ultimately for WWE, the first outing was a success. Thunderdome was trending. I think it was trending number one, or SmackDown was trending number one worldwide. Was it all positive reasons for why it was trending positively? Well, is it all positive reasons why it was trending worldwide? No, of course it's not. I'm sure a lot of people were tweeting about it because I saw people that hadn't got the email to the link to actually enter the Thunderdome. I saw a lot of people were tweeting about it because they were having issues like I was. It was very laggy, or they had no audio. I saw a lot of people tweeting about it just from watching it on the television, and they might not have liked the way it looked. I disagree with that. But people were talking about it, and that's ultimately what all of this comes down to. It doesn't matter why the WWE trends. All that matters is that they are trending. That's the most important thing. I'm sure the reason the WWE ThunderDome is trending isn't all for the positive reasons, right? But it doesn't matter. People are talking. That's all that matters. That's all that WWE wants. WWE wants people to talk about them. They want people to talk about the Thunderdome. And that's what they got tonight. People were talking about it. People will continue to talk about it. As I mentioned, it's a work in progress. It's absolutely a work in progress. It's not perfect. There's a lot of areas they need to improve on for me. I have signed up for SummerSlam on Sunday, and I think I will do the same. I think I will try and participate in it again Sunday. But if I'm having the same issues, then it's not crucial for me to be involved in the arena side of things. You know, put it this way, did I think watching it like that enhanced my viewing of SmackDown? Not really in the Thunderdome aspect of it. I enjoyed watching it more on the television because I thought the Thunderdome was a better backdrop, and seeing some fans there was fun, but I don't think they've truly perfected the noise that the fans bring. It was just enhanced audio that you've seen in NBA games and Premier League football games over here and all of that sort of stuff. So I think the main positive from the Thunderdome was the aesthetic part of it. You can see in these screen grabs, it looks great. It does really look great. Look at Bray Wyatt's entrance or the Fiend's entrance there. That was great. And it did look really, really good. They had the pyro back. They had the lasers back. For instance, AJ Styles had pyro in his entrance. Jeff Hardy had pyro in their entrance. Bayley and Sasha Banks, they had pyro in their entrance. All of that was really, really good, and aesthetically it looks great. As you can see there, when the Retribution was surrounding the ring with The Fiend and Braun Strowman, it looked really, really good. And I think that's the biggest takeaway that I had from the show, is that it looks a lot better, and it looks night and day, and it feels bigger than the Performance Center shows. In terms of the technical aspects of the Thunderdome that I experienced, as you can see in these screen grabs, it didn't work for me. It just didn't work for me. I didn't feel like my experience was enhanced by participating in the Thunderdome. As I mentioned, I was only in there for, I say only, but I was in there for about 45 minutes with 205 Live and SmackDown, but it was very laggy. I didn't have any audio. It's, technically it's almost unwatchable. The experience that I had, but that's not to say that some people didn't have that. I do know some people that did enjoy it, and some people were able to watch it, and some people enjoyed their experience. So if that's the case, that's great. But there were always going to be teething issues with the Thunderdome, and it's going to be a case of WWE working on it and getting better at time. I'm sure in a couple of weeks' time it isn't going to have, I would hope not anyway, that it doesn't have the issues that it had tonight for the likes of myself and for other people. There still are elements that I would improve about it. As you can see there, everyone has a different background, which kind of is a bit distracting and a bit difficult on the eyes. I think eventually they should get into the stage that they get with the NBA, where everyone has the same background and you have the Zoom backgrounds, and I don't know if it just says SmackDown in the background or whatever. That's probably what they should do for that going forward, so it just blends in nicer. Again, they've got to work on how the fans' noise comes across on television, because tonight on SmackDown you didn't hear any of the fan noise on television. You just heard the enhanced audio and the piped in noise that you've heard at the likes of NBA games, and you've heard at Premier League football games over here in the UK. That's all you heard, so they need to work on that. But I think as an opening night, I think it did fine. And I think it did well. There were stages in there where you had black screens, and every time I saw a black screen on the show, it kind of, especially like there, you can see them in the front row. It's one thing to have black screens high at the top, but when you have black screens on the front row, it's very, very jarring, and you sort of wonder why that's a black screen. And if you don't have people engaged, you wonder why they're engaged. It's probably because they're having some form of issues with the stream. That's something, again, that they need to work on, and I'm sure that they will. I'm sure that WWE will work on that, and as an opening night, I think they did fine. Just because my experience wasn't the best, I don't think my experience is exactly the same as everyone else. I would be interested to see what other people felt like on there. The feedback that I was getting on social media was that it was pretty 50-50. Is that some people had signed up and they weren't able to get in. They just saw that screen, the please stand by screen. Some people were standing by for a long time and they managed to get in and it was fine. Some people had the same thing like I had, that it was very laggy and didn't have any audio. There were lots of different reasons as to why that was the case. But as I mentioned, from a television point of view, this is going to sound very, very harsh to the people that signed up. But the people that signed up and the people that were involved in the Thunderdome tonight, that's a very small percentage of people that were watching. What really matters is the audience at home. And to the audience at home, it came across as a spectacle, and it came across as much more visually pleasing. Like there, with The Fiend made his entrance, I think he was the perfect person, the absolute perfect person to have the first entrance in the Thunderdome. The Fiend is known for having a great entrance, right? That's the best thing about The Fiend. Well, not the best thing, that's very, very harsh. That's one of the great things, should I say, about The Fiend is his entrance. His entrance is fantastic. His entrance is absolutely superb. So to have The Fiend be the first person to make the entrance at the Thunderdome, to suddenly the whole Thunderdome becomes the Fiendom, the Thunder Fiend, was great, and that looked great. In terms of SmackDown itself, I don't know if I want to go into a full review here, because I think I'll save that for tomorrow. I will say some of just overall thoughts as we're talking about SmackDown tonight. The opening segment, I thought, started off the show hot. I think there was way too much going on in it. It always frustrates me. So you had Vince McMahon out there welcoming everyone to the Thunderdome in the only way that Vince McMahon can. And then you have The Fiend come out, and I was excited because I pitched this. I said either Retribution should come out, beat the hell out of Vince McMahon, or you have The Fiend come out and hit the mandible claw on him. The Fiend came out. First of all, Vince McMahon did not sell The Fiend being scared of The Fiend at all. He just sort of stared at him like he was looking at the boogeyman. Like, do you remember WrestleMania 23 when Donald Trump met the boogeyman and he just literally like brushed him off, told him to get him a sandwich? It felt very much the same here. That Vince McMahon, who's a guy in his 70s, and Vince McMahon's probably seen things a lot scarier than The Fiend, maybe. But Vince McMahon did not seem terrified of The Fiend, even though later on in the show, everyone seemed terrified of The Fiend. But Vince McMahon didn't. And then Braun Strowman interrupts that, and next thing you know, Vince McMahon's disappeared. So Vince McMahon has the powers of The Fiend, he has the powers of The Undertaker and Sting, etc., that he can just vanish into thin air. So Vince McMahon disappeared, and you had the Braun Strowman come out, and you thought you were going to get some form of physical confrontation. You didn't. Retribution came out, and you had them. Suddenly, I did enjoy that The Fiend just disappeared. He waved at Braun Strowman and disappeared. A bit of a callback to last week when Braun Strowman did the same thing to Bray Wyatt. So that was fine. And then Retribution attack Braun Strowman. The SmackDown roster come out, chase Retribution off. Once again, though, this was the same as Monday Night on Raw. Retribution were only in the first angle. They were only in the first segment of the show, and then apart from that, they disappeared for the rest of the show. So they're only wanting to cause chaos in one segment, it would appear now. I'm sure they will have their fingerprints all over SummerSlam, and I'm sure we'll see them at SummerSlam. But that was interesting to see as well. Retribution, they're all for chaos and retribution because it's in the name, but only in one segment, because there's a show to run. You can only get all your chaos and retribution in one segment. That's the most important thing. So I thought the opening segment, like I said, I thought it started the show off hot and it was good, but there was like 5 or 6 different things going on in that segment, and we would find out stuff even though we didn't know was going on in that segment. So that was interesting. Other major stuff on the show, and then we'll wrap it up. Other things on the show, Intercontinental title match was fine. I didn't think it was amazing. I thought it was the same, to be honest, as those matches that they had in TNA. I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was the best that they can do, but I thought the match was fine. Switch was fine. My only problem with it that I have with the IC title switch is that AJ Styles' Intercontinental Championship reign just feels very, very meaningless. It feels very, very transitional. Who did he face off against? Matt Riddle, Grand Metalik, and did he defend against Drew Gulak? He might have defended against Drew Gulak too. But that was about it. He didn't do anything in that IC title run, and I'm assuming him and Jeff are going to continue to feud over the bout, but felt very, very transitional. The story in it was fine. I actually really did like that when Retribution were attacking Braun Strowman and the SmackDown roster came out, AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy come out to attack them. But what does AJ Styles do? He's a very creative man, and he attacks Jeff Hardy from behind. I thought that was very smart, and I liked the way they did the reveal for that. So I was cool with that. I thought that was actually really creative. The only thing I didn't get is Jeff Hardy gets one kick to the back of the knee, and he's practically on one leg after that. This is a guy who tore his ACL doing was it motocross racing or whatever it was on those motorbikes, and he wrestled a couple months later with a knee brace on. He gets one kick by AJ Styles, and you're thinking, oh, is he going to keep his leg? So he sold that to high heaven. The doctor backstage for about an hour and a half just sort of poked his knee, so that was good medical advice. Let's just poke his knee, and eventually gave him a knee brace, and he was fine. But the story was okay, and then I think we'll probably have a rematch. I don't know if we'll have it at SummerSlam. I think we might have it at Payback next Sunday, but we'll get a rematch between AJ and Jeff Hardy because of the way that it ended. But the match itself, meh. I thought it was fine, and obviously, look, I think more people are going to be watching SmackDown than would usually be watching over the last couple of months, so that's why they did the switch here. They want to have some momentum and people talking about SmackDown. I'm just glad to see Jeff Hardy's doing something that doesn't involve him taking urine tests or talking about his alcoholism, even though they did. Again, they just can't help themselves, WWE. Or talking about his drug problems in the past. Sonya Deville's promo, I thought was great. Absolutely fantastic. She's one of the best standout stars of WWE, one of the breakout stars in WWE in 2020. One of the stars that's really elevated her game. It's obviously horrible what happened to her last weekend, and that whole situation is just terrifying and unbelievably scary. I wasn't massively comfortable, to be honest, now that I think about it, with them making it part of the story here. Now, if you're not aware, again, we'll go into more depth on this tomorrow. I'm just going over the fine points of the show. But they had Mandy Rose backstage essentially said she wants to make a truce with Sonya Deville. Didn't reference what happened because obviously Mandy Rose was there with Sonya Deville when this whole attempted kidnapping incident happened. But she says she wants to straighten things out. And then later on, you have Sonya Deville backstage. Dana Brooke comes up to her and openly says, look, I'm really sorry for what happened to you at the weekend. I hope you're doing okay. And Sonya Deville says nothing she can't handle and just slaps the how. It was such a great slap. She slaps the how out of Dana Brooke. And at the time, my thought process then, and it is the case now, does that really need to be referenced on WWE TV? No, I don't think it does. Sonya Deville, her and Mandy Rose got a lucky escape. They're lucky that the alarm went off in Sonya Deville's property. They're lucky they got out of there. This is a guy who has obviously got something seriously wrong with him. He messaged her thousands of times on social media. He broke into her house, had a knife on him, zip ties, all sorts of other paraphernalia on him. Sonya Deville was actually in court today as part of the bail hearing, and the guy's been denied bail, thankfully. He should be thrown away and locked up for a very, very long time because it could have gone really, really bad there, and it's a really frightening experience, and just it could have been absolutely tragic, and I really do feel for Sonya and for Mandy because it's got to be such a traumatic experience. So for them to reference it on the show, I just didn't think that was necessary. I just didn't think it was necessary because it just doesn't feel that that's the right thing to do. Let that play out in real life. I'm sure Sonya Deville has got enough going on because of that. She was in court today about it, so you don't need to bring it up on network television. Let's just leave that there. It doesn't need to be. Everything doesn't need to be turned into a storyline. But Sonya came out and she cut a promo basically saying she doesn't want to get back on track with Mandy Rose. And she raises the stakes. She says a hair versus hair match doesn't matter because everyone knows that Sonya Deville don't care if she gets her head shaved, which is very true. But she says she's raising the stakes. It's now going to be no DQ, and loser leaves WWE. I don't know if the hair versus hair stipulation is staying. Some people are under the assumption that it's not. Some people are under the assumption that it is. I think it is. But it's going to be loser leaves WWE. And coming after what happened this past week, it makes me think that Sonya Deville may be stepping away from television for a while. It was a very scary thing that happened. I just hope that it's not a rash decision from either Mandy Rose or Sonya Deville. Just be like, this isn't worth it, and has stepped away. I wouldn't blame them, but that would be a shame. I think maybe the case is Sonya Deville needs to leave for a while to not only psychologically recover from what is a very, very distressing situation, but she also might be heavily involved in the trial of this. So maybe she needs to take some time away to deal with that, to deal with psychologically recovering from that. But hey, maybe it's just factoring into the storyline. Maybe Mandy Rose loses and she's going to get fired, and then Otis says, I'll do anything to make sure that my peach doesn't get fired, and then he gives over the money in the bank to Sonya Deville. Maybe he does something like that. So maybe they're just playing into that. But maybe potentially Sonya Deville might be stepping away from WWE television for a while, which would suck. It would suck because she's been just such a bright spark on SmackDown this year, in which there hasn't been money, and such a standout superstar for me on SmackDown this year. I think she's done really, really well. So that would suck. But if she is going to step away from a while, I don't think she'll be gone forever or anything like that. I thought she looked badass in her suit, like a proper mafia boss, and I think if she does step away, she'll probably return most likely at the Royal Rumble, and if she does return at the Royal Rumble, she should win it. Not only because of obviously what she's been through, she's not a charity case. I don't think she would want to win the Royal Rumble because some guy broke into her house. I think she'd want to win the Royal Rumble because she's talented and she's very, very good at what she does, and she's improved greatly over the last year. And like I said, she's just been a very compelling character. So I enjoyed her promo. I was a bit taken aback that it's going to be a loser versus leaves WWE match, but it just makes me more excited to see what they pull out at the weekend. The Sasha and Bayley stuff furthered that nicely, planted some serious seeds that Sasha Banks and Bayley breakup is on the horizon. I still think they'll hold that out to at least the Royal Rumble next year, but the seeds have been planted. As far as predictions, we're going to do predictions later on today, tomorrow, whatever time it is at this point. But in terms of predictions, I think that now that we know that Bayley is going to go first against Asuka, and Sasha Banks is going to go second, I think that Bayley is going to retain, and I think Sasha Banks is going to lose. But we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see for that one. And then the ending of SmackDown. The ending, and I put this down in my notes when I was watching it. The ending was great, good, fine, and bad, all rolled into one. And I know that might seem a bit of a confusing statement, but I'll tell you what I mean by that. I thought it was great. Well, I'll tell you what happened first, because it's difficult to explain that statement because it doesn't make any sense. I thought the segment. So what happened in the segment? So you had Bray Wyatt, Firefly Funhouse, Mr. Rogers Bray, doing one of his Firefly Funhouse segments, and then Braun Strowman manages to. First of all, actually, I must say, he suddenly gets a whiff of something and can smell Braun Strowman apparently, and says, "What took you so long?" So that's quite disturbing. Bray Wyatt could smell when Braun Strowman's around. I was thinking, Braun, dude, have a shower. Bray Wyatt can smell you from a while off. He's obviously still got the stink of the swamp on him. You shaved your head. Now, next step, have a shower, Braun. Maybe then Alexa might actually like you. Corey Graves. So Braun Strowman shows up. He attacks Bray Wyatt. Corey Graves goes, somehow Braun was able to infiltrate the Firefly Funhouse. It's like in an alternate dimension. Well, so did Seth Rollins. So that alternate dimension is not that hard to find. It's probably take a right from catering, and you can probably find the Firefly Funhouse. So they're brawling backstage, and then Braun Strowman chokeslams Bray Wyatt, Firefly Funhouse Bray, off of a ledge onto concrete. It was very similar to the angle in, when was it, 2004? When the Big Show chokeslammed Kurt Angle. He was then the general manager of SmackDown or whatever, off the concrete. It was very similar to that. So he throws Bray Wyatt to the concrete on the floor. Officials and referees come out, call an ambulance, get Bray Wyatt onto a gurney, put him in the back of an ambulance. You can see where this is going. So the ambulance rides off and then it reverses. It starts coming back. Now, Adam Pearce, bless Adam Pearce, WWE agent and producer, one of the lead writers for 205 Live as well, with Dewey Foley, Mick Foley's son. But Adam Pearce, at this point, when the ambulance is reversing, just about loses his damn mind. He is so pissed that this ambulance is reversing. He is so angry, and which was very comical. But it wouldn't be the most comical thing from this. We see as the ambulance reversing, inside the light suddenly turns to red, which can only mean one thing. The doors, they then pan, I must say, to the producers, the referees, and the staff working at the Amway Center. And they suddenly go very quiet and they're shocked. We pan round and we see that the Fiend has emerged from the ambulance. It goes quiet. We had Corey Graves go, "It's him," which I hated. Just, you don't need to talk, Corey Graves. Just don't talk over this segment. So the Fiend appears, and that's the bit that I thought was great. I thought that stuff was shot really well. I thought it was really done well. And then the camera, I'm already laughing. The camera goes up to the Fiend, and I'm thinking the Fiend's just going to start laughing. We'll go off the air. Fine segment. I'm happy with that. But he doesn't. The camera goes up to the Fiend, and the Fiend sticks his tongue out and starts laughing. And I just burst out laughing. Because it was hilarious. And I don't think it was meant to be hilarious, but it really took me by surprise. And I don't know, it really made me laugh. And I know that's not what they were going for at all, but it was hilarious. It was really, really funny. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. The Fiend sticking his tongue out and then laughing, I just thought was absolutely hilarious. It wasn't meant to be. So that's why I say it was good, great, fine, and bad all rolled into one. The great stuff was the Fiends coming out of the ambulance. I thought that was shot well. I thought the reactions were shot well. That was cool. Good, because I thought the reactions of the producers and the officials, I thought that was done well. Fine was the brawl and the lead up to the choke slam by Braun Strowman, I thought was fine. And then the thing that I thought was bad is when he choke slammed him onto the concrete on the outside, and I just hate that. They've done it a lot of times where people will choke slam him onto the concrete on the outside. Kane's did it like a million times. People like Zack Ryder, and I mentioned the Big Show had done it to Kurt Angle, all of that sort of stuff. And I hate it. Every time they do angles like that, I absolutely hate it because it's always shot in a way where it's so unrealistic, and you know for a fact they haven't been choke slammed on the concrete. And I'm not saying they should choke slam on the concrete, just don't do it. If you can't do it, don't try and find ways around it. We saw on NXT on Wednesday, Rhea Ripley, she powerbombed Mercedes Martinez onto the concrete, and they cut away, and it's sort of like, it looks terrible, it looks fake. And you look at it and you go, well, Bray Wyatt obviously wasn't chokeslammed onto the concrete, and it just, if you can't do it well, don't do it. So that's the thing that I hated with that. I thought, why, you know? And I know it serves a purpose to have him change into the Fiend, but I just didn't like that part of it. But I thought the reveal of the Fiend coming out of the ambulance was great. I enjoyed the how out of Adam Pearce's anger and performance to the ambulance reversing. That guy's got some serious road rage problems, and he wasn't even driving. And then, yeah, I enjoyed the reaction that they had when the Fiend came out, that they just were silent and scared of him. And then the Fiend sticking his tongue out is, honestly, it might be one of the funniest things I've ever seen on WWE television, and that says a lot. And that really does say a lot. So I enjoyed the hell out of that. But as I mentioned, and we'll round the stream up here, ThunderDome, obviously my experience might not be the same as other people's. I thought on television, looked great. Massive improvement from the Performance Center shows, but there's still teething issues. No audio for me, very, very laggy. We'll try again Sunday, and if you've managed to get in Sunday, my recommendation would be to you, get in there early. Get in once you've got that link. Maybe get into the stream 10-15 minutes before the call time. You can set yourself up and you'll probably be guaranteed to get in there. I'll try again on Sunday, but if I have the same issues, I'll just do what I did tonight and watch on the television anyway. That's not a problem for me. I don't have to live and die by being in a virtual crowd. That's fine. But I did think it looked better. But there are rooms for improvement. You've got to get rid of the black screens, got to have everyone on the same background. Work on that lagging issue, work on those audio issues, and I'm sure WWE will. I'm sure they'll improve, and I'm excited for how SummerSlam's going to look. And I thought SmackDown on a whole was fine. I thought it was a better show than they've had the last few weeks, even if some of the booking was a bit bizarre. But there was good stuff, and it furthered the storylines and got me excited for SummerSlam on Sunday. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on the WWE ThunderDome and on Friday Night SmackDown tonight? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be sure to respond and reply to all of your comments. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to WrestleNews 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right-hand corner of the screen right now, or once the stream has finished processing, even though it'll probably take a lifetime to process. Once it does, I'll put a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. We're closing in on 700 subscribers. I think at this point, let me double check now. I think we're like 9 subscribers away from 700. So well, no, more than that. We're less than that, rather. We're only 5 subscribers away from 700. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe to WrestleNews 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right-hand corner, or you can go to the profile of the channel and subscribe there. 5 subscribers away from 700. The aim I set out earlier today was to get to 700 over SummerSlam weekend, so we're only 5 away from doing that. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe. If you have, just know that I really do appreciate anyone that takes time to watch the videos or listen to these streams or anything like that. The aim eventually is to get to 1,000 subscribers. Once we do, we'll be doing a lot more live streams like this. I'm trying to up my live streams, and if you do enjoy them, please do smash a like on the like button. It really does help us out here on YouTube, go up with the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos before. So if you enjoyed the video, please do like and please do subscribe. You can also follow us on our social media platforms. The handles are on the screen right now. The links are in the description box below. It's at 365Wrestle on Twitter, at WrestleNews365 on Facebook and Instagram. So be sure to give us a like or a follow there if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this